Welcome to That Super Show, the podcast where we talk about all things super from the inside. I'm Neil Benson, founder of Novagentic.
And I'm Sarah Penn, CEO of Mayflower Consulting. Each week, we unpack what's changing in the industry, what funds are wrestling with, and how tech and regulation are shaping the landscape.
Sometimes we bring in expert guests, but mostly it's just us having a real conversation about how super is working and what could make it even better.
Let's get into it. Okay, hello everyone. Today we are joined by Victoria Butt. She is the CEO and founder of Parity Consulting. She leads one of Australia's most trusted specialist recruitment and market insights firms across product marketing, digital and data. Her team has gathered insights from nearly 5,000 professionals this year, giving her a front row view of how people are feeling about work, where salaries and bonuses are heading, and what's really shaping the talent market going into 2026. She's also a passionate advocate for better leadership, meaningful work, and genuine career development. And with all that, hello, Vic.
Hi, thank you. And you forgot that I'm an aggressive wine snob as well.
Oh, yes, excellent. Oh, we'll have to get a wine recommendation to finish up.
I can't pick one. There's too many.
Okay.
Victoria, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
We've got a great list of questions for you today. First of all, what is the name of the report that has just been published?
So the theme of the report is keeping pace, and of course that references AI, but the name of the report is the Salary Guide and Insights 2025 to 26, and it's our 11th edition. So this is our 11th year of publishing this data, and I have to say it is absolutely the most detailed. You can imagine what the first year looked like. It was a bit low end, but we've just got better and better. And now, like you say, we've just 5,000 contributions is huge.
And is this
it's amazing.
Financial services, Victoria, or just superannuation? How far does it go?
Yeah, and look, that is the ultimate question, right? With any kind of data, it's the validity of the data, so the relevance, should I say? So it's 80% of the 5,000 have come from fin services, and just under 40% from wealth management and super.
Okay, great, awesome. It's very relevant.
Yes,
good,
exactly. So speaking of data, what were your biggest surprises this year?
Yeah, thank you. That's the first thing I look at. I have to say, whenever I get the data, I just jump in and I'm like, oh my goodness, give me some news that I either didn't expect or something ideally is very positive. It was mostly what we expected and my team expected in terms of salary levels, bonus levels, how people were feeling. But the sort of, let's just say the three main surprises was that how much passion and emphasis people are putting on the return to office mandates and how aggressive the language has become. So it was very aggressive when we started getting people back from COVID, and then it died down a bit because you couldn't find staff for love nor money. So you needed to not be too hard on your staff to come back to the office. And now, of course, that's changed. The direction of travel is actually at 4 days mandated. And of course, we have exceptions and things. And I can go through the different exceptions later. But the aggression in language and the fact that the employer and the employee are quite far apart in their view. The second one was the motivations and what people are really wanting. What came at number 2 this year was exciting work and interesting projects, and that had never featured in the top 5 ever.
Does that mean dealing with regulation and legislation changes? Is that kind of exciting?
It's just been a bit shit. If you look at the wealth management market, super in general, it's dictated by regulations, it's dictated by M&A, it's dictated by so many things that are out of people's natural control. And typically it can be quite boring, and it has been very BAU focused. So people are just genuinely wanting to do new and exciting things. So that actually came in at number 2. That superseded learning and development.
Right.
Yeah, right. What was number 1?
Remuneration.
Oh my God.
I
mean, sorry, me. Sorry. Stupid question.
Not at all. So look, REM has been number 1 for 11 years.
Yeah, as you
would expect. And one of the cool ones, I hope you don't mind me saying, actually, is in the last few years, the values alignment and making values-based decisions, making those decisions to decide whether to move or not, has come up the pegging order. Unfortunately,
Yeah, right.
it's gone down again this year. And look, I do think that is when there is so many people that have been displaced. You can't be as indignant about your values and principles when you need to pay your bills, basically, which is a shame.
Sadly, very true.
Speaking of which, Victoria, we've seen a number of funds merge over the last couple of years. And I think at the operational level, people handling complaints, people handling claims, there just hasn't been enough staff. So I don't imagine they've been too broadly impacted. But, a chief marketing officer, there might only be one in the new merged organization. How have those kind of mergers and acquisitions impacted roles and things in the marketplace? What have you seen there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I've been asked this question quite a bit, actually. So on the face of it, you would sit there and go, okay, we've got duplication, CMO, head of marketing, type thing. What's really interesting is that isn't always the case. I think duplication absolutely would, up to about 30% of the time you've got like for like. Every fund is so different. And so what we've actually found is that the duplication hasn't been as much of a problem, because what the funds have done their best with is they've tried to move people into other areas that will lend itself to their skills. What's been more of the problem is the culture clash and how these integrations are being managed. These are huge, complex integrations. Culture is can make or break very quickly. It really is a very precious entity, culture. And I think when you put two together, less is the problem with, okay, you've got duplicates, so we're going to exit that CMO, we're going to exit that head of product, we're going to exit that person, we're going to keep what we think is the best. It doesn't actually work like that. What happens typically, other than, good 70% of the time, is that you actually take both. The future of marketing, for instance, is different to the past. And so you would put one that's perhaps go-to-market focused and one that perhaps is more data-focused, for example. Yeah. But where it really impacts the people is when the merge carries on and it goes over time and budget, and also there's culture issues, or just in general where there's challenges from a culture perspective. That's when people will opt out and have opted out. The other point to make here is there is also the challenge of people holding on too tight, but unfortunately that also comes with other issues where you're almost a bit hostaged in that environment. And if you're a bit pissed off or you're not happy about this new merge, or something's going on, that's when culture really suffers, because it becomes quite toxic.
What's that culture eats strategy for breakfast?
And it's so precious, culture. It's my goodness, it's as precious as my 10-year-old. It literally is.
Moving to the other end of the stick and looking back on the numbers, and my stupid question before about what is number one. Speaking of REM, so one of the surprising things I thought out of the report is that salary budgets are basically at a 5-year low. They're only looking to go up 1.5% to 2% in the next year. Why? What's going on?
Yeah, basically over the last 5 years, the salary budgets have come down. We've had a spike in COVID where it hit over sort of around the 5% mark in that 2021-22, but it's really gone down significantly. It really just comes down to the macroeconomic market, as well as confidence, geopolitical unrest. Obviously, we've got many different conflicts, and it's just the movement and confidence of cash. So everything is tightened up. So whether you're in a fund manager where you've got so much market and margin squeeze that you're needing to compress your expenses, it's just happening everywhere. I also think why this has occurred as well is because in COVID, businesses overspent on their payroll. So I don't know if you remember 2021, early 2022, people were asking for massive 35 to 40% pay jumps. So if you were moving around that time, our data suggests it was about 36% average pay jump in that pocket.
Wow.
If you were an incumbent, one of the biggest challenges companies found is that they didn't know how to normalize your wages, because they would be bringing these people in at a much bigger salary. So I actually think it's a combination: overspend, just less OPEX budget for salaries. And of course, the obvious is that at the moment you've got all of these recruitment freezes, which they don't necessarily advertise, but trust me, they're there. It does mean that our contractor book and contractors, that's gone up quite substantially because there is still work that has to be done before we kind of know how the future state looks.
Yep.
But people don't want it on their balance sheet, so they're doing contractors and short-term gigs. But are there any roles where it's still a good time to be looking for a new job that, becoming harder to fill?
Yes, absolutely. And I found this in the GFC, and I found this any time of downturns is absolutely work. So if I start with the technical side, we're still seeing people command really high day rates on, really big complex programs of work, whether that's separations or, of course, mergers and really, really highly complex pieces of work like custodian changes and FTs. You're talking about commanding serious money still in that area. That has not slowed down, and we have a series of people that do that with us and for us. You've then got the permanent work that we're doing, which is basically your GM level. So these are your real people leaders, the level that actually interestingly has very much thinned out over the last couple of years, where they've taken roles out of that senior level and almost juniorized them. They're actually something that's certainly coming back for us, which are senior roles. So this isn't your exec. This is, your real senior heads off, really. And then the final part is in data. I mean, of course it's in AI and of course it's in that area in cyber, and of course that is not what we inherently recruit for. But the data side has really, really come back with a vengeance. And it's not your standard data engineer, although I have a lot of respect for those people. It's more your change agents that sit with the business that are data strategists.
Right.
They're the ones that we've done a truckload of work for as well. So
these are the folks who can actually use the data to run a marketing campaign or plan a marketing strategy or analyze member sentiment, perform member insights, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they're also the one, and they also lift that up as well. So what they do is they look at the data from an enterprise level as well. And so they're actually working with the people that you just mentioned. So they can be the ones that are almost enterprise data strategists. And they're also punchy in terms of salaries as well.
Hey, good.
Yeah, I'll bet. There's not many people actually who are really great at data and really great at strategy and able to sort of deal with the C-suite and operate at an enterprise level. They are thin on the ground.
About 9 in the country. Totally. And everyone wants them for 100 grand less than what they're earning, of course. But that's a whole different story.
And how does that work?
Victoria, if I wanted to progress into that type of role, obviously having experience in that role for a big bank or an insurance company would be great. But if I'm aspiring to that, are there certain qualifications or platforms and data technologies I can build my experience with in order to progress into those kind of highly sought after roles?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a great question we get asked a lot. So the reality is that to get to that level, there's a lot more of the human skills and stakeholder management, which is something typically a course won't help with. However, sponsorship and mentorship is critical for those data individuals. So making sure you've got the right sponsors that understand what your aspirations are and the mentors in place to help guide you there. So that is one thing that I think a lot of people go straight to education and they do remote Harvard work. They're doing lots of things with UNSW. I'm loving some of these courses, by the way. There's a lot of free stuff out there, which I think is incredible, especially with data and AI. I think it's just making sure that you're doing a balance. There's not one holy grail, although they all say that, I'm sure. But as headhunters, we really value the adaptability. And one of the signposts for adaptability is curiosity and learning.
Absolutely.
So that would be the signpost. The sponsorship and mentorship stuff is just incredibly underrated, especially in that data space. For whatever reason, it's not prioritized like it should be. Whereas you see the marketers of the world, they've nailed that mentorship. They've nailed the sponsorship. Well, less so sponsorship, but mentorship they've nailed. Whereas the data scientists are just a bit behind the eight ball as a rule. I'm not saying everyone, of course, but as a rule, they're a bit behind the eight ball, I think, on the sponsorship and mentorship side.
Yeah, interesting.
And do you mean as a group of people, or do you mean more like if I'm a data scientist and I'm thinking what I really want to be doing is running this whole ship, it sort of doesn't occur to me that finding a mentor and trying to get some sponsorship might be a good move. But I'll go and learn 15 new programming languages and I'll, do all those things. But people higher up the tree are still like, well, I don't really know what those things are anyway, and I don't really care. And
yeah, it's the value we place on them.
Yeah.
And also that self-awareness, do we need them?
Yeah.
There's also a lot of blind spots that we all have in terms of, a lot of people just think, do your job, get your head down and I'll be noticed. And frankly, that hasn't been good enough for 10 years and it's certainly not going to be good enough for the next 10. So the data, and look, I'm talking, this is quite unfair. I'm talking about a whole freaking job family. So I have to caveat that this is, but our experience of hiring many data professionals is that it is a secondary thing that they might get to if it's sort of called out. And so we just try and encourage them to look at their whole self in terms of your education, your technical ability, but also your human skills and stakeholder skills.
Mm. Speaking of that sort of second order of skills and things, one thing I've noticed, if you ask one data scientist, they'll ask another data scientist, so they won't get that outside view. And at a macro level, we see that in super quite a bit. Everyone's in super and they just move around from one fund to another, and we don't get very much new ideas and new ways of thinking coming in from other industries, other verticals, other ways of thinking. Do you see that when you're placing people?
100%, and it's not just data, by the way. Super and
no, I don't just mean data.
No.
Yeah,
superannuation. Investment management is the worst, I think, for not looking outside of their domain, and it's because they often can't, because it's just so technical. If you're in a fundie and you're looking for someone that's going to be not too senior, because you can probably get away with it too senior, but there's also other challenges with that because the fund managers just don't respect people that aren't technical, and there's other issues there.
No, they don't.
But super is similar. So a few years back, and I haven't got the names to hand, but a few years back, 2 or 3 of the funds actually went outside of superannuation. They took people well outside of the industry and they put them in at quite a senior level. So technically you shouldn't need to be technical, day to day. And for 2 out of 3 of those senior hires, it didn't work. One remains in our world, and I think he's doing incredible. But my goodness, they've had to work incredibly hard to get the credibility. The thing with, as you guys know way more than I do, it's just the complexity and the legacy of the super and wealth management industry, and it's incredibly frustrating for our clients to feel like they have to onboard someone with the domain expertise. They don't, the job family, they've got that now, but the domain expertise as well as the bringing them into an organisation like a super fund. And it's just too hard. And so what it means is that we're all in a bit of a vacuum, really, right? You're moving from one fund to another, same thinking. Totally. But in this market, this is a square peg, square hole market. This is not an particularly innovative market. Square peg, square hole, square results, right?
That's so well put.
But it is. But look, I don't feel in any way negative about this, although I probably sound a bit negative. I don't feel negative about this because it is a cycle. You learn the cycles and the signposts of the cycles. So, the innovation will come back. Square peg round hole and great results. You know, they will come back.
Yeah, that's interesting. Looking into the industry, there's a lot of regulations and compliance you need to do. But when I think of the great campaigns that are run by Woolworths or Coles in supermarkets or in consumer electronics, we're not seeing any of those fresh ideas coming into superannuation. And I'd love to see more of it. So, yeah, it's maybe just a cycle. And I've just got to be watching that cycle unfold over the next couple of years to see that level of innovation pick up again.
I think also as well, like we've a couple of senior hires that we've done, which haven't been in super recently, but have been in like a non-bank lending and some fin services still in insurance. We have taken outside of the industry, but we've kept within some core things like the channel of acquisition. So B2B, taking someone from B2C to B2B.
Yeah.
Terrible idea.
Seen it, never works. Yep.
No, and look, I'm sure someone will come up and say, I've done that, and you know, but typically we find that mentality doesn't work. But no, we have taken some less square pegs. They're a bit rounded, but they're typically looking the same as the whole shape.
Yeah.
I'm thinking forward to 2026, Victoria. You know, November, December, it's quite often a great time of year. People are looking for new roles to kick off the new year. What are the big trends that you see coming? What are the highlights you're looking forward to in 2026? Is AI going to eat the industry? Should we all be looking to pick up skills with artificial intelligence projects? What's coming that we can look forward to from a career perspective?
Yeah, look, I think from a career perspective, we've broken the back of most of the pain. So if you are displaced or you're not in a job that you love, and you're actually one of these people that has got one foot out the door, next year we are seeing the employment market going up. I'm a big data person, so if you look at the Seek report, there've actually been an increase in vacancies, which is really good. And then if we talk about some of our data, which we don't release publicly, we actually poll a lot of sort of internal talent acquisition teams, and they've reported a 15% drop in quality applications, which basically means the pendulum is trending back the other way. So finding quality staff is going to be getting harder and harder, which means there's going to be more work on the market, and so there will be less competition for people, and so that's a really good sign. In terms of your reference to AI, it is the only thing people are talking about at the moment. There's just everyone's watching each other, everyone's incubated something. Because AI is so new, you know, every other bugger feels like they're an expert at it, and so there's a lot of swelling of salaries in AI at the moment, and so it's almost like a force. But what I think will happen, certainly in our world, is that we will see mid next year, we will see quite dramatic changes in productivity and the ways that we're working. I would like to say, though, the people sort of say to me, oh, you know, do I need to go and do the courses? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? The answer is yes. It's not about going into Harvard and doing one of their awesome remote courses, although I really do think it's great because I've just done one. But actually, the people that are going to kill it in this transformative market with AI are the ones that can get those fence sitters when it comes to AI and changing the way you're working. It's the influencers can swing those fence sitters, because with any kind of change management, you've got the early adopters, you've got the detractors. Ignore both of them. Yep. It's the chunk in the middle that are the ones that are they're your big fence sitters. Not all of them, of course. And it's the individuals, whether they're senior, mid-level or junior. It's the ones that can get others to change the way they're working and become more adaptable are the ones that will really kill it in this next sort of 5 to 10 years.
It's the definition of leadership. Those who can influence others and help bring them along in the right direction.
It is. I think this is anyone is going to be able to do this. Whereas leadership, typically you think about sort of people leadership and things like that. This is junior people are going to be able to really progress very well in this market if their core skill is adaptability.
Yeah. I don't think you need a job title to be a leader. I don't think you need to have reporting lines to be a leader, direct reports. Like you said, if you're adaptable and you're showing others the way forward, then good start.
Totally. Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's so interesting because AI is all about computers taking everyone's jobs. Like if the people freaking out about it. But actually what we're discussing is the fact that the people who are going to be most successful in this new, very computer-driven, AI-driven era are the people who have the best human skills.
100%.
Actually.
Yeah. It's not the tech wizards, although they are incredibly valuable. Yeah. But no, it's the ones that can influence and cajole and do that. And like Neil says, it doesn't have to be a job title to do that.
No, definitely not.
Victoria, what else is in your report that we ought to know? Any other key highlights? And most importantly, where can people go to get a copy of it?
Yes, very important.
Well, there is a link in the file note, in the host notes. I believe what I'd love leaders to take more seriously right now is burnout of themselves and of their teams. This is actually significant fatigue and will actually be not just, mental health claims and time off and things like that. This is actually going to affect a huge amount of people. We've seen an increase in burnout, and we typically do see an increase at the end of the year. And I think because organisations where they do have less budget to play with, typically we're seeing. So I think that's one of the things that leaders should take seriously. I also think that if you look at the data, and actually the data for over 10 years, is that learning and development and career development is ranked very, very high. So leaders that don't have more than 1.5 to 2% salary increases, they can't give big bonuses, they can't progress their teams because they're not moving up or out, so their team can't move up or out. I do think the career development piece. So on average, career development budget is anything from $0 to a couple of grand per person. So obviously it can go up as well, but you're typically talking about that. Average is about $300 per person, career development. And the statistics, not our statistics, but well-known statistics, are that 80% of people won't use their career development and L&D budget. So there's potentially money there. And we know that people really want career development, but they're not using their budget. Yeah. It's not a leader's responsibility to say, hey, you should do this course, and then follow them up when they don't do it. But I do think that knowing full well that there is career development there, as long as a leader is sharing that figure, often they won't know because HR and L&D hold the budget. So it's just being a bit curious about that. Now people are really aware that career development is really important. And then the other one is that attrition is at an all-time low, and attrition is sub 8%, which is voluntary and involuntary. That's not good.
Wow.
In fact, that's bad. So, obviously as a recruiter, I appreciate I am super subjective about this subject, but if you just take that out in terms of the fact that, bringing new people in is innovative and things like that. If you think about people sitting there, so they're sitting there, they can't move up, they can't move across, they can't do anything. They've been sitting there for, years. Now they're in a BAU market without budget for innovation, perhaps lots of regulatory reform. Just they're feeling quite stagnant. And our statistics are showing that 78% of people are open to new jobs, and 27% of that are actually looking. So you've got people that cannot move internally, cannot move externally because they're trying to look, but nothing's there, which will, of course, change towards the back end of the financial year. But it's just making sure that leaders can try and do their best to really promote internal opportunities. And I don't mean just secondments and physical moving. It could be project work, it could be philanthropy, it could be forums or working groups. It doesn't matter, but something has to be different for their people.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, some great tidbits there for anybody looking to progress their career in super this year and next year. Victoria, thanks so much for joining us and sharing.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This is great.
Thanks for listening to That Super Show. We hope today's episode gave you something useful to take back to your team.
If you're thinking we should talk, We'd love to chat. You can book a meeting with either of us via the link in the show notes.
And don't forget to follow the show, share it with a colleague, and drop us a line if there's a topic you want us to tackle.
Catch you next time on That Super Show.